Shalom, Israel. Happy Sabbath again. Lord's will, we'll bring y'all a good lesson today. Very basic. Hopefully be informative.
Turn this around.
That was throwing me off.
Hey, Shalom, Israel. Happy Sabbath. All praise to the Most High that we made it another week, to another Sabbath day.
Right. And the name of the lesson is choose to be cursed or blessed. Or choose to be blessed or cursed. However you want to label it, that's on you.
Yeah, let me just go ahead and check, make sure audio is good and all that kind of stuff. Man, these stupid, like bots on Facebook.
Yeah.
They always trying to do the most. Let's see. So, let's see. Are we live? They always trying to do the most. All right, we are live. All praise to the Most High. All right, audio seems to be just fine. And let's see about Facebook. Man, these stupid. Yep. Like all right. So yeah, I'm gonna put my phone on silent, and we can go ahead and get started. Y'all make sure y'all got your notes, notebooks. Get y'all the Bibles, and we'll get ready for the class. You said choose blessing or cursing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And where are we starting at? Deuteronomy 28, or are we starting at Deuteronomy 11, or somewhere else?
We can start with Deuteronomy 11.
All right.
You talking about that verse?
Yeah. Choose life, choose death. Choose blessing, choose curse.
Yep.
Or cursing. All right. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, and verse 26. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing, if ye obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day. And a curse, if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day to go after other gods, which ye have not known.
Right. So it just pretty much laid it out plainly for us there in them 3 verses. That's it's really talking about the entire Bible. All right. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God. But a curse if you don't. If you just do what you want to do or do as you've been taught. Because I'm telling you right now, there is no church that is established with a steeple that is teaching you, thus saith the Lord, to follow the commandments, have the faith of Christ.
Not one.
There is not one. So, that's first off. First off, you got to come out of that mentality. Alright? Of go to church on Sunday, which is it's not the Sabbath at all. It's the first day of the week. It was established. That's the day we go to church by Rome to worship the sun. And that's what you're doing. Whether you're a willing participant or an ignorant participant, you're still participating in that idolatry until you wake up and awake to righteousness. Let's get that. And 1 Corinthians 15,
That's right.
verse 34. This is what we all must do. All right, in everyday life and when we wake up each morning. Honestly.
1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 34. Awake to righteousness and sin not.
Right. Bam.
For some have not the knowledge of God. I speak this to your shame.
Right. To those who know about God or know something about the real God and how He judges. Alright, to either choose a curse or a blessing. And it tells those of us who in particular know that, only choose the blessing. And stop choosing a curse in any way. For some have no idea about this. They ignorantly go worship Caesar Borgia on Sundays. And he's speaking that to the shame of those who actually try to find the real knowledge of God. The truth in this Bible.
Yeah, if I may, Romans 2, because people people will be like, well, what about the people who don't know? All right, in Romans 2 and verse 12, it says, "For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law.
Right.
And as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law." So first of all, it's our job to make sure everybody does know,
right,
or at least has the opportunity to know, has the opportunity to hear,
Absolutely.
right? But even those who never got the chance to hear, guess what? They're gonna die without the law.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is.
Right. Because it's on each of one of us enough to not be, as it says in Isaiah 1 and 3. We must consider.
That's right. Christ said, "If you seek, you shall find."
Right.
If the people don't know, that's probably because they never sought to know.
Right. They didn't care to know.
Exactly. They were comfortable with the life that they had,
right,
with what they were being taught by their pastor or by their parents or
right,
whatever the case may be. Yeah.
All right. And that's what the Lord says about His chosen people, His favorite people. All right. Those who have the ability to be that holy special people it talks about in Deuteronomy chapter 6 and 7. All right.
All right. You said Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 3.
Yeah.
"The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib."
Right. An ox will know his owner. No matter who comes up to an ox, all right, he's going to recognize and be more obedient to his master than any other man or woman from the time that he is birthed till he's a full-grown 2-ton beast. All right? And the same with the ass, a donkey. All right? You can take a donkey and you can drive 2 hours away. All right? And drop him off. It might take him a few days, but he's going to end up back at his master's crib. All right? It's something, it's the way the Lord made him. All right? With an ox to know his owner and an ass to know where he's from, to know his land. Okay?
"But Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider."
Israel do not know who our owner is, who we truly belong to, not our servants, like it is established and set up today for our disobedience, but who our true owner is. All right? We have no idea, nor where we truly belong.
That's right.
Our master's crib.
Where we truly come from.
Exactly.
Because,
come from or going back to.
You know, I talk to people out on the street, and it's true that Judah, so-called black people here in America, they are comfortable saying African American, not knowing Africa's a whole continent.
Right.
Like, where are you at? Like,
right,
where are you coming from on that continent?
Right.
They don't know, right?
No.
It's the same thing when I'm talking to so-called Latinos. You know, they're big Catholics,
Right.
right? They claim to believe the scriptures, yet they're comfortable with the idea, or at least they never even consider when, you know, the secular world says, "Oh, y'all came over here on a land bridge in the Ice Age."
Right.
And I'm talking to them and say, like, the Bible don't say nothing about Ice Age.
Right.
So where is it
At
that you
all.
come from? They don't know. They don't consider.
Nope. They just take what they've been told.
That's it.
All right. We don't know, and we don't even consider the fact that we might not know. The fact that who we're learning from might not have our best interests in mind.
Really, most of them just don't care.
They don't care.
They're just comfortable
Right.
with the life that they're living, with the sin that they're in.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why all these bad things happen to them.
Right, constantly. And they can't escape the misery. No matter what they do to escape, it always comes back or finds them again.
That's right.
All right, and it all goes back to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter.
That's right.
All right, it's one of the most vital and key chapters in the entire Bible when it comes to rebirth
That's right.
and to become as a child again, to relearn this Bible with the laws as it was supposed to be given in the beginning.
All right, so Deuteronomy 28, you want me to start with 1?
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth."
Right. This is so that the Lord can set us on high above everybody else, to have us be the representation of Him on the planet.
That's right.
All right. And, yeah, read 2.
"And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
All right, shall come upon thee. And you know what overtake thee means? It means if as long as we're doing what the Lord said, there's nothing we can do to stop the blessings coming on you.
That's right.
And the many different ways you're blessed each and every day. It's no way around it.
That's
it can
right.
only be and go good for you.
You look at like Joseph in Egypt, right? Because first of all, Joseph, when he's living with his father and his brethren, he's getting blessed, right? He's having the visions from the Lord. He's receiving blessings from his father directly.
Right.
But then his brothers try to get rid of him, but Joseph stays true to the Most High.
Right.
And so now he's getting blessed in the land of his captivity.
Right, exactly.
He's rising the ranks like nobody else.
Exactly, and beloved by his slave masters.
Yeah.
Until, he gets in a situation with that woman lied on him because he wouldn't sleep with her like she wanted.
Yeah, so he stayed true. He stayed faithful to the Most High. Right. And it looked like he was going to get cursed.
And killed many times.
But then he ended up becoming the second in Egypt, right under Pharaoh.
Right.
And really, Pharaoh's there as like, he's the guy, but really, Joseph was like the Elon Musk.
Exactly.
He was the one that was really running things.
Exactly. The Pharaoh was going to Joseph, okay, Joseph, what do I do now with this? What I do with them? What I do this? Joseph was the one who gave the order, who told him, this is how you need to proceed. This is what you need to do with them. This is how we need to deal with this. And this is how we got to establish this. This is how we set up this.
That's right. That's right.
All right, that all come from Joseph.
As the scripture says, he taught his senators wisdom.
Exactly.
But yeah, so really what God is letting us know here, that the blessings from our fathers will come down upon us if we do everything what God said to do, just like they did.
Exactly.
Just the same way that Abraham was told in his seed, the whole world would be blessed, right? Because the Israelites scattered all over the world, and the Israelites going to make the world a better place, right? Through our King, Jesus the Christ. Right, so our blessings, they still remain. They are descended from our fathers. God said, look, I'm giving you the same opportunity that I give them, all right, to be my representation on the earth. I like how you put that.
Right. Another way the scripts put is ambassadors of Christ.
That's right. That's right.
That's what we are supposed to be.
That's right. So, verse 3?
No, I'm on... It just goes into naming blessed in the city, blessed in the field, but the fruit of thy basket, and all the ways that we were just explaining in verse 2, the blessings overtaking you.
That's right.
All right, but in the curses, we're going to get more specific and actually go into them and read them and break them down in different ways, different scenarios of how we are today. All right, so I'm just talking to you, but also, to the people.
Yeah.
All right, so you can jump to... Blessed thou be when thou comest in, blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. Jump to 7 and read 7, and then we'll read 9 and 10.
Okay. Verse 7. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face.
All right. Whenever you are following the commandments, you're doing thus saith the Lord, you're studying your Bible, seeing what it says, and then living that way, proceeding that way after. All right. Whenever it says don't eat this, don't wear this, only celebrate this on this certain day in all those different ways. All right? Then you'll see your enemies, that anyone who rises up against you to do you harm, to have malice intent toward you, you're going to see them smitten before your face. All right? They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. All right? You're going to see them come, and you're also going to see them flee.
That's right. See, this happened during the days of Joshua and during the days of David, mainly.
Absolutely.
All right. So jump down to verse 9.
Yeah.
The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee.
They shall be afraid of thee. All right. We was just reading somewhere a while ago. And then the verse for it said he will send our dread upon all the nations before us.
Okay, is that Leviticus 26?
No, I think it's Deuteronomy 11 and 25.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Deuteronomy 11 and 25.
Okay. Oh, okay. Deuteronomy 11 and verse 25. There shall no man be able to stand before you. For the Lord your God shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that ye shall tread upon, as he has said unto you.
Right. To choose that blessing. This is what it's going to lead to. All right. And if you read on up in there, it says, for if you shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command you to do them, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him, then will the Lord drive out all these nations from before you, and you shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves. All right, every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea shall your coast be.
Right, so
all right, and then it goes into the fear and dread.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So the Lord, that's just a small example of him saying this, and it's also in Revelation 3 and 9. All right, of that same example, what we just read in Deuteronomy 28. The rest of the nations, the rest of the peoples that are not Israel on this planet are going to see, they're going to fear, and that's going to lead to obedience or death, one of the two. Either obedience or rebellion and death.
In Revelation 3 and verse 9, Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, to know that I have loved thee.
Right, and this in particular is talking about a certain other nation and group, but it also goes for them all. They're going to all see and know that Christ chose Israel, and he loves Israel, and has Israel standing by him. All right, to judge the earth.
Yeah, so, just to show that, because you said it's not just the so-called Jewish people, right? People who claim to be Jews.
Exactly.
In Zechariah 8.
Yeah. There we go.
It says in verse 22. Zechariah 8 and verse 22. It says, Yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem and to pray before the Lord. Verse 23. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, In those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold of all languages of the nations. Out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, We will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. You see that right there? So that's the blessing that comes upon the Israelites.
Where was that at? Zechariah 8? What?
That was 23. That last one was 23. I started with 22 though.
Right.
But so it says out of all languages of the nations.
Yep.
It's going to be people coming to the Israelites and saying, Hey, look, teach me about God.
Exactly.
Show me the way that God has blessed you so that maybe I can get a blessing too.
Straight up. Because we need to be like y'all. He chose y'all. He's give y'all these new God bodies, and y'all are right there with him. Just don't care what we need to do to keep living. Like it's going to be to that point.
Because when World War III comes and the nukes drop,
exactly,
it's going to devastate the planet.
Exactly. And they're already looking for somebody to lead them out of that hell.
Right. And then they see these people coming with the blessing of the Lord in a spiritual body.
They see the Lord, and then they see these people that he's rewarding.
That's right.
And in the way he's rewarding them. And they say, well, whatever the hell y'all did to get that, we need to be on that same train of thought.
There you go.
We need to be heading that same direction. Because that God, that's exactly what he is and will be. And he will not meet thee as a man. Excuse me. They're going to be sorely afraid. And like we've been told to Moses, we don't want to talk to the Lord anymore. You talk to him because we'll die.
Exactly.
That's how everybody else is going to be. Straight up. They're going to want to deal with Israel instead of having to go to that scary Lord.
That's right.
All right. So now back in Deuteronomy 28.
Deuteronomy 28 and what verse?
You can read 12 on down.
Okay. Verse 12. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thy hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow.
Right. Which we know now that is not the case whatsoever. We have to go, we're the only nation that every other nation preys on for loans. Literally. The opposite of what this verse just said.
Yeah.
And we will go into that the more we read on down.
Yeah, and it's not even good loans either. It's predatory
terrible,
loans,
right,
payday loans.
It's the ones to where they get rich and you go further in debt.
That's right. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail. Thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath.
But all we know today is starting from the bottom. We don't know nothing about being the head. Only thing we know is to be the tail, to be an ass out of ourselves. That's what we've been. That's what that's the example that we have set for the rest of the world. And they said, while y'all over there clowning, we're just going to take this and this and that and this, all out of our stuff. That's what that's the position we put ourselves in now today. To where while we was hanging out, having a good old time, acting an ass, our servants snuck in the house and took everything over. And now they said, you work for us now. And we looked up to the Lord. You just going to let this? He said, if y'all would have been listening to me, instead of acting an ass down there, that wouldn't have happened.
That's right. He said, look, you would have made them afraid.
Exactly. The fear and dread of you would have been upon them. Not the mischief that they had the balls to pull off. All right.
If that thou hearken unto the commandment of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them.
Right. If that was the case, if we cleaved unto the Lord, which is the one thing that we've been allergic to doing since he brought us out of Egypt.
And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them.
Right. In any way. And one thing about that, serving other gods, we do not take into consideration is that anytime we're doing something to seek our own pleasure more than seeking the pleasure of the Most High, we become that idol.
Yeah,
we make ourselves that fake God.
We went into that on in these classes before about how when it comes to what Satan wants is
Satanists.
Yeah, it's Satanists. What Satan wants is for you to serve yourself.
Right.
He doesn't care about you serving him specifically.
Right.
Just you not serving God.
Right. That's the point.
That's when he's got you.
Mm-hmm.
So he don't care if you directly serve him, indirectly serve him. It's the same thing.
Right. You're still, whenever you serve yourself more than God, you take on the role of the adversary. You become Satan.
That's right.
All right. Now, verse 15.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Right. And just like the blessings overtake, there's nothing you can do to stop it. If you're living a certain way, the curses are hovering.
That's right.
And there's no way to cleanse yourself of them or rid yourself of them. All right, nothing else you can do but to hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord. All right. Let's see. Cursed in the city, live in the worst parts of the city. Cursed shalt thou be in the field. You're the ones that work in the fields. Cursed be in thy basket and thy store. All right, whatever savings we have, little to none. Very few, if any, actually have a store that we actually own. Probably none. All right, that we don't owe somebody for. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land. All right, so whatever children you have are going to come out cursed. All right, and the fruit of thy land, whatever plants that you grow or produce. And then it goes into the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep, whatever animals. Everything you got is going to be less than. It's going to have evil favoredness. All right. And then we're going to go read 20.
Verse 20. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in all that thou set thy hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me.
Right, so anything that we've set our hand to, that we've started to do, all right, going all the way back to whenever they first had the Emancipation Proclamation, allowing the slaves to go free, and then we started building certain towns, all right, all the way up to Tulsa in 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma. All right, and every time we would have a little bit of prosperity, here come the devil to end that quickly. Why? Because it wasn't done in righteousness. All right, and now today, anywhere we go, all right, just about, or it could be our own family members at a job, whatever the case may be, we're going to be cursed at. We're going to be cussed at. All right, vexed. All right, which means somebody holding something over you and having the preeminence over you.
Yeah, oppression or annoying or
right, and in some way to needle you. That's vexation by somebody who is over you. You don't have the preeminence if you're being vexed. Period. All right, and rebuke. All right, this is what happens when you don't listen to God. All right, this is what you become when you just seek your own pleasure. All right, or when you do as you've been told by your enemy, instead of truly seeking the knowledge for yourself on your own. Consider, like Isaiah said. All right.
And it says you're gonna perish quickly.
Right.
Like young men, young women dying early.
Right.
Dying young.
And that's only in Israel where they say by the time that you reach your mid-20s, you're gonna be dead or in jail.
Yeah.
That ain't in no other nation. They don't deal with that in no other nation. That's only us. And that's quickly. Alright? Because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Alright? Because every single person who's died young like that, I guarantee you, was not keeping no commandments.
Yeah, it's because of the wickedness of our own doings.
Right. We chose the curse, and then that sin built till it was finished, which is death. Alright. Let's see. And you can just keep going.
Yeah, verse 21. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he hath consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it.
Right. From the time that Esau started coming over here and passing out the blankets with the different diseases, and it also not just when they came to the Americas, but whenever Esau went anywhere throughout the world, when they first went to Australia, when they first went to certain parts of Asia, all right, whenever they was, reestablishing their dominance, the natives of the lands everywhere were getting sick from the diseases that they hadn't come across until Esau came there. Okay? But, whithersoever, till they consume thee off the land. All right, think about it now. Who's got the most crazy illnesses? It's Israel, with the gouts, with the diabetes, with the cancers, with the you name it, any kind of sickness, ailments, diseases, leprosies. All right, it cleaves unto Israel first and foremost.
Yeah, literally the what they say about what happened with the indigenous, even before Esau come with the blankets. Esau was surprised at how quickly the so-called Indians were dying out,
right,
because they said, like, we ain't even they're dying, we ain't even killing most of them.
Right.
It's because the diseases came through and wiped the people off the land. That was nothing but God.
Right.
You can only say that's God. If you believe in God, you can only say that God did that.
Right. Especially whenever this is the devil on the earth. That's what they live for. They live and die to shed innocent blood. And they're even saying, wait, we ain't even controlling this. That we ain't even actually doing it.
Exactly.
We ain't getting our pleasure out of this.
And then when they found out what was happening, that's when they come with the blankets.
Exactly. They
started
said, well, let's
harnessing
take advantage of this.
Exactly.
Now that we know what it is. All right. Let's see. All right, 22.
Verse 22. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation.
Right. You see STDs, and right here, extreme burning also.
And with an extreme burning, and with the sword.
Right.
And with blasting, and with mildew.
Right.
And they shall pursue thee until thou perish.
Right. I wonder what the blasting is. You want to look that up?
The blasting, it can refer to like crops and like crop failure, but blasting, like, they come with the guns.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I was saying with the sword. All right. 100%. And with the blasting. But I was saying with the mildews, the projects. Like every house. Even our mom's here. All right, she's having to have parts of it taken out from termites, which come from, and they're attracted to certain types of mildew.
Yeah, so I'm looking at blasting. Okay, so it says, well, this is the AI overview. I'd rather look at something instead, like Bible study tools. I don't really trust that AI stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
So blast or blasting, this is on BibleStudyTools.com. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. But it says, this is the effect produced upon grain or other plants by the hot east winds, which blow from the desert of Arabia.
Right.
They usually continue to blow for 2 or 3 days at a time. If they occur in the spring, near ripening time, the grain is often turned yellow and does not properly mature.
Right. So it's a certain type of wind that comes and destroys your crops.
Yeah, like sandstorms.
Yeah, of course.
The farmers dread this wind.
Right. Yeah, because out to the side right here in 1611, besides sword, it's got drought.
Okay. Yeah. So, either way, either the sword from God or the sword from them.
Drought. Right. Exactly.
So yeah, just so y'all can see, because I didn't let them see that. Just so y'all can see what I'm looking at, and I'll put it right back. So this is BibleStudyTools.com, and then this is blast or blasting, and it even points to Deuteronomy 28 verse 22 through 24.
There you go.
That's what I read right here.
Right.
All right.
That's what we was needing.
Yeah.
Direct reference to that direct verse. All right, and it's also got to out to the side of this verse, Leviticus 26 and verse 16. All right.
You said Leviticus 26 and 16?
Yeah, and I'll read it.
I got you right here. Leviticus 26 and verse 16. I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning ague, that shall consume the eyes and shall cause sorrow of heart, and ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it.
Right. Whatever, if it actually produces, if the Lord doesn't kill it before it's able to produce anything. All right. Which is even a bigger kick in the ass. All right. So yours made it through the blastings. Yours made it through all the terrible shit. You counted the cost. All right. You sowed your seed accordingly. But then in the end, guess what? You still don't get to enjoy the benefits if you're not hearkening unto the Lord to enjoy the benefits of life or the curses that lead to death. Literally. Alright, if you live a certain type of way, it only produces health, longevity, peace, all the good things and qualities about life. And then, if you don't live according to what the Lord says, which is why, in fact, He said live the way He said to live, that all sorts of other roads to go down that all lead to death. And not peace and harmony in the process. It's a lot of curses, alright, like it says in Sirach. You live accursed unto death. Alright, the wicked. Alright, they live their life cursed and then they die. Which, especially for Israel, wasn't meant for any of us. Not from the Lord. But some of us just can't have it no other way.
Hey, that's why 2/3 got to die.
That's it.
Because
a
a lot of y'all just won't get right.
Right. Y'all don't want to get right.
No matter how many chances and opportunities the Lord has given you.
Right.
Throughout the ages, throughout the centuries, throughout the millennia.
Giving us.
There's a lot of us that still won't get right.
Right. We don't care. We don't care. We say we'd rather enjoy what we know is real and can enjoy now, today, than hope for something better in the future.
Like we was talking about before we went on camera, they don't want to be strangers and pilgrims in the earth.
Exactly.
And they'd rather take their pleasure now.
Right. They'd rather this be their kingdom.
Yeah.
In which they serve their servants. Which is... I can't explain it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
You'd rather this be your kingdom where you ain't even ruling.
Right. Exactly.
where you got no kind of power, no kind of... You got...
ruled over by terror.
Yeah, you got a false sense of freedom.
Yeah.
You got the illusion of freedom. You don't even have real freedom.
Right. You have an illusion of freedom and a false sense of security.
That's right.
And safety. Alright? Because we know Proverbs 21:31. Safety is of the Lord.
That's right.
That's the only time you can truly be safe and secure in that. That's whenever you know you've hearkened diligently unto the Lord and give Him no reason to be pissed off at you. That's the best way to describe it. That's the way I describe it to my children and any other child or any other. That's the easiest way to get it. Don't do nothing that may piss him off. And if you don't know what all pisses him off, you need to find out.
That's right.
That's the considering.
Hey, seeking you shall find, right?
Amen. And in their affliction, they shall seek me early.
There you go.
But shit's getting tough. It won't take long for you to go to calling out to God.
But yeah, I do just want to say shalom to Gerald, Self, and Malachi. They was in the comments over there.
Right.
I seen them over
Shalom, brothers.
there. All right.
Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath. Verse 23.
Yeah.
And the heaven that is over thy head shall be brass,
Oh.
and the earth that is under thee shall be iron.
Right. And in a literal sense, or in a lot of cases today, that's the private prisons owned and operated by mainly our enemy, but also our people, including Michael Jordan, owns several private prisons in America.
Damn.
Appreciate that one, Mike. All right.
Yeah, back when he was playing, he even said Republicans buy sneakers too.
Exactly.
He was not about to stand up for nothing that black people wanted him to.
Nothing. He was not. He was the one all Israel worshipped.
Mm-hmm.
But the last thing on his mind was y'all.
And that's why the rest of the world worshipped him too.
Exactly.
Because they said, hey, he ain't black, he's Michael Jordan.
Exactly. He ain't fighting for his. He's for all of us to enjoy.
Oh man, and if you just like watch like The Last Dance or like anything on MJ, he's just like the worst person imaginable.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what made him the best basketball player because
Exactly.
he loved the glory of the Grecians best of all.
Best of all, baby.
Man.
And yeah, straight up. But usually that's how it goes. The most glorified are usually the most wicked, especially in this society.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that he's got 6 rings, 6 MVPs, 6 Finals MVPs.
There you go, 6-0 in the finals.
Yeah. He loved them
No
triple
coincidence
sixes, man.
whatsoever.
Oh wow.
He's the only player ever to have 2 three-peats.
Mm-hmm.
Only split up by his retirement.
Yeah.
And just so happened to his daddy mysteriously was murdered by the son of a judge right before he retired. Let's not talk about that. All right, in Tennessee, good old Tennessee.
All right. So you want verse 24?
I was actually looking for a verse. It's either in Psalms, Proverbs, or maybe Isaiah. No, here it is. I found it. All right, it's in Psalms chapter 11. No, chapter 12. Verse 8.
Psalms 12 and verse 8?
Yep. And this is why, and part of how things have led to where they've led today. It starts out by saying, "Help, Lord, for the godly man ceaseth, for the faithful fell from among the children of men."
All right. So you said Psalms 12 and 8?
Yeah.
The wicked walk on every sign when the vilest men are exalted?
Right. All right, when the vilest men are exalted.
Mm-hmm.
All right, like we were just talking about. The most glorified of the Grecians are usually the vilest of men. All right. Yeah, they may have been amazing like he was at basketball, but how was his people skills? How did he treat others? All right, was he a good teammate? Looking at all of that, and the answer to all of that's hell no. He was awful to people. All right? And one of the biggest fornicators and whoremongers that ever lived amongst Israel. And particularly when it comes to dealing with other nations. He was trying to give Solomon a run for his money.
Oh, man. Him and Wilt Chamberlain alike, huh?
Yeah.
Man.
Shannon Sharp. Most of them athletes
Yeah, for sure.
who dedicated their life to a sport. All right, once they're saying, okay, I got a lot of life outside of this, and all the money I could ever spend, they go to seeking things they didn't have while they were so dedicated. I've noticed. And usually all those things are taboo. Quote unquote forbidden fruit. Things they didn't have access to before they made certain deals with their enemies.
Covenant with death.
That's it.
And with hell, they're at agreement.
Right. With the men of perdition. Alright, so yeah, we'll jump back to 28. Deuteronomy 28.
And what verse?
Yeah, you can read 24.
Verse 24. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed.
Right. When we're looking for rain or seeking water, it's only powder and dust, something to dry us out even more.
Yeah. So this goes back to that blasting that we was reading
Yep.
about as far as like them east winds
Exactly.
from Arabia.
Yep. All right, and verse 25.
The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies.
Right. George Floyd was a prime example about all other nations of this earth. Seen that happen to Israel. Nobody else was under that policeman. That was an Israelite, George Floyd. All right, and not just him, and since him, so many thousands more.
There was somebody that I seen a couple days ago in, in Ohio.
Up to a couple days ago.
Yeah, where he was running away from the police officer and he shot him in the back, killed him, and then
tried to say he had a gun.
Yeah, and then the dad of that boy went after the police officer.
And killed the police officer. Yeah. Which ain't right either.
No.
All right, the vengeance comes from the Lord.
Right, exactly. But it also talks about in the scriptures cities of refuge because there's always going to be a revenger of blood. Because God understands that.
Exactly.
Even though we shouldn't seek out our own vengeance, God knows that that's what's going to happen whenever somebody's killed without a cause.
Exactly. Especially with us in this flesh.
Yeah.
Trying to mortify our members. All right. That's a member that's nearly impossible to mortify. Mm-hmm. All right. Seeking the vengeance of a child. That's why the Lord said that. Mm-hmm. With his children. And the vengeance he's going to get for his son. Of course he understands it. He's going to live it out. Alright. Let's see.
I didn't finish verse 25. Yeah. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them. And shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
Right. All right, and anytime we tried to have any kind of true rebellion, that's exactly what's happened. We went out of one way, but we scattered from 7 different ways. And not just any rebellion. Think about every time, bro, we try to rise up. And we go to marching in the streets. How does it end? Every time. It ends in what? Riots.
Yeah.
No organization whatsoever. Chaos.
And also when the people get done marching, what do? They go back into Christianity, into Islam, into secular, into Egyptology, into Catholicism, into all these different things. They flee 7 ways.
Exactly. And that's back to 7 different neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. All right, because that's the one thing all of us try to do from the time we're born. It's because we live in the cursed part of the city. But if you think about it, that goes into the destructive mindset as well. What's the number one thing anybody from the hood wants to do?
Make it out.
Get out of the hood. Get away from your people around you. And like I said, it stems from because y'all live in the worst part of the city. But nonetheless, when one of us gets out of the hood, we never take the rest with us. We never take the rest of the people living in the same hood and put them around us.
They never go back to the same hood and build up that community.
Exactly. No.
They always try to move into the suburbs.
Exactly. They want to leave their people and go join in with their enemy. Because that's what the nicer parts of the city, the suburbs, all of that. It's surrounded by usually Edom, the fatness of the earth, especially here in America. But also the other nations who have made themselves enemies, if you believe Psalms 83. Alright, and verse 26.
Thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Right. For one, you're not going to be able to be buried. And 2, nobody's going to stop what's going on. Nobody is going to stop what happens. All right, you know why? Because they benefit from what happens to us when we are in sin. All right, it benefits us to leave sin, but it benefits the nations for us to remain in sin. That's why they will never do anything to stop that. All right, they may speak up in certain different ways, try to say certain things, try to condemn certain other things by other nations and peoples, but none of them is truly going to try to keep from happening what happens with the curse. Not a one.
Nobody's going to stop what's going on. Like you said, they may speak up about it or whatever.
Right.
But like, for example, people are speaking up against what Trump's doing, sending the people to the El Salvadorian prison.
Yeah.
But is anybody with any kind of power going down there to try to break them people out? Trying to, hey, y'all release these people?
Right. Or actually trying to stop what's going on. It's
No.
one thing to care about a public image
Yeah.
and make sure you come across the right way. But it's a whole nother ball game to actually be strategizing, all right, and actually care about these things. Ain't nobody gonna care about Israel to strategize about us but us.
Yeah, see, I'm even seen with Democrats, because, Democrats, they love to keep that public image. They
Of
love
course.
to pretend like they're for the people.
It's all about their hypocrisy.
I've heard some of them say, is this really the issue that we want to be fighting on?
Exactly.
Are we really going to go down there to El Salvador? Are we really going to break them out just to save a hairdresser, is what one of them said?
Exactly.
And they don't give a damn.
No,
They don't give a damn at all.
because when you boil it down, who are they really, what you call it? Who are they really, what's it called when you go out persecuting with the deportation? It's Israel.
Yeah,
Once you boil it
Israelites.
all down, they're only persecuting Israelites. So like you're saying, yeah, the left, it looks good to a certain extent until they actually got to go to El Salvador.
Yeah.
That's where they draw the line. We ain't actually in it to benefit them.
Yeah, man. And this, the lesson that I did last night, I was talking about, at one point, I don't know if you ever heard of Ross Baraka. And I had never heard of him before I looked into this.
Yeah,
this
I
story.
look into it.
He's the mayor of Newark, New Jersey. And he's a Judite.
Yeah.
And he was out in the protests of these ICE detention centers that open up in New Jersey. He said, hey, look, y'all didn't get the legal permits y'all needed to do this.
Right, of
He's out there
course.
protesting.
He's the mayor.
And they arrested him.
Of course. The mayor of the city.
Mayor of the city.
Right.
They arrested him.
And let you know how much power mayors have in their cities.
Yeah, they have power until they don't.
Exactly. Until you're trying to use what little power you actually have
Yep.
to go against our agenda.
Yeah.
The one we put you in spot for.
That's it.
So, once again, that's going back to who will pity a snake charmer.
Yeah, and that's the first instance that I've seen of them arresting Judites concerning this deportation stuff.
Yeah.
So, hey, y'all think y'all safe just because you're U.S. citizens? No. No, you're
Trump
not.
was even looking into Gad and deporting Gad.
Yeah,
Or
they-
so-called Native American Indians.
They've already passed bills saying that they can deport U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
So
100%.
y'all be on the
They said
lookout.
for calls.
Then-
Literally.
yeah.
For calls.
And they've already arrested that brother for a dissenting opinion.
Right.
So
And he was a
hey,
mayor. So they're clearly making an example,
Yep.
drawing a line.
That's what I said.
With old brother.
I said they're just trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
They're trying to send a message.
That's exactly what they're doing. And are we receiving it? Because that brother last week was running New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought he had a little separation
Right.
from the rest of us at the bottom.
And see, he is actually running for governor too.
Exactly.
And they still did this.
Exactly. So Lord only knows what all hands he's greased, what all
Mm-hmm.
Edomites he's made smile,
Yep.
about his plans he's laid out.
The Democratic Party. That's the one that he's lined up with. That's
you
why
go.
he's so anti-Trump. And
There
then
you
look
go.
what they did. Boom,
Right,
arrested
exactly.
him.
Exactly. Because the Lord's trying to show us. The Lord is and he will deal with us directly like he is that brother, Brother Ross.
Yeah.
All right. If we refuse to see the signs, the videos, the men out in the streets, no matter what, if we refuse to study this Bible to at least see if it talks a little bit about some kind of strategy in times of chaos that we live in, because all answers are in it.
That's right.
All questions can be answered with the Bible, okay? If we start asking the right questions, if we start taking all the evidence, especially us here in America, all the evidence our own government, the people who rule over us, have given to us, if nothing else, to last 100 years. You should really look back to where they started coming over here and warring against themselves to take this land, but just the last 100 years, look at all the evidence in which it will show you only people that can help us is us, and only way we can get help is from the Lord.
That's right.
From this Bible. All right, and that's also one of the only things we ain't tried since we was all brought over here and put into servitude and slavery. Or those who was already over here since our enemy came over here and captured us and enslaved us. All right. And then the rest of our family brought over here to serve with us. All right. Let's see. Yeah, read 27, because this goes right into what we're saying here.
The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou cannot be healed.
Right. The hemorrhoids. All right, the scab with the itch. All right, this is going into certain kind of STDs and dealing with diseases around your privates. All right. All of that comes from the Lord, from us breaking commandments. Not from sleeping with dirty women. That's part of it. But that's not the cause of it.
Right. The scriptures say prove a friend.
Exactly.
Right. If you prove a person to realize what kind of person they are before you lay down with them, then you would know whether or not they're clean or
That's
dirty.
what I'm going to say. You ain't going to put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
All right. And, read 28.
28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness.
Right.
Thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
Right, exactly. All right, and we shall what does it say? And thou shalt grope at noondays. All right. Groping is reaching for things you cannot see.
That's
okay?
right.
You have no guide because you're blind. All right? As the blind gropeth in darkness. We're going to do that at noonday when the sun's right out there, looking for the truth, looking to something that's real to grasp onto, to hold on to. All right? For stability. That's why blind men grope. All right? They're looking for some kind of something to sturdy them. Something to make them stable. That's what the Lord's doing with that metaphor.
Right. So it's as you said, it's a metaphor. It's not talking about literal blindness necessarily in verse 29. So this scripture here in Ephesians 4 and verse 18 to show you on blindness. Ephesians 4 and verse 18 says, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart.
All right, where'd you say that was?
That's Ephesians 4 and verse 18. So it's referring to the blindness of your heart, having your understanding darkened. That's what it's referring to here when it talks about the, you're going to be like the blind man groping at noonday. And 18.
18.
Yeah. And that's why you shall not prosper in your ways, because your understanding is darkened. All right? That's why you keep looking for something, because you have no understanding.
Right.
All right? Because if you find what the Lord has for you, you're going to stop looking.
Yep.
But that is not the case with his people.
Not at all.
We still looking for this, we're looking for that. Okay, Catholic didn't work out. Okay, we're going to be Muslim. Muslim didn't work out. Okay, we're going to be Egyptologist. We're going back to Christianity now, except this time we're going to be Baptist or Methodist. Like, you still can't prosper in your ways. You still have your understanding darkened. You're still looking for something.
Right.
All right?
Something to stable you.
Exactly.
All right, and you can skip 30. All right, you shall betroth a wife and another man lie with her. That happens today still, but mainly talking about in slavery. All right, thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. That happens all the time now, especially those of us who get slapped with felonies at very young ages. We can't go out and get normal jobs. We have to be contractors, carpenters, roofers, and take, little money all in cash because we can't go get no normal job because we've got these felonies, won't nobody hire us. That leads to a lot of that.
Yeah, and if you look in construction, it's just pretty much just Latino.
Right,
it's pretty much just Northern Kingdom Israelites. Just Issachars that belong mostly.
Especially the ones who get the most work, all right, because they look for that. The other nations, but mainly Esau. He's like, I know if I get some Mexicans in here, they're going to do it and do it right.
Yeah.
All right. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, shall not gather the grapes thereof. Okay. I can just... Yeah, she got to go get her some Benadryl.
Okay. You said verse 31?
Yeah.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them.
Right. All right, now read 13. That's them taking away all your stuff.
Yeah, so I just want to point out, because this is goes into all the different, like, each of these represents different Israelites, all right? Because it says, thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes. That's what they did with the buffalo.
Yep.
They went out, like, this was literally the plan of the U.S. cavalry.
Exactly.
Was to wipe out the buffalo. They said, okay, we'll wipe out the Indians' food source, because that's what the Sioux and the Sioux tribes mainly followed around the buffalo.
Yeah, and not just food, but we made our clothes out of that.
Exactly.
We made all things
Let
from the buffalo.
nothing go to waste.
Right.
That's how the Sioux was with the buffalo. All right. It said, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face. They promised the so-called Judites and, or rather, so-called blacks and Jamaicans, the Judites and Benjamites. They promised them, saying, "Hey, look, if you fight against these Native Americans,
Right,
we're gonna give you 40
tribes.
acres and a mule."
Yep.
And
And I bet you that had what you call it in there too. Like I said, Judah and Benjamin. I bet you Levi was in there too.
yeah, probably.
You know, Southern Kingdom.
They called them Buffalo soldiers.
Buffalo soldiers.
Yeah, and guess what? When they ended up successfully wiping out the so-called Native Americans, they said, "Oh, well, yeah, you're not going to get those reparations that we promised you.
Right,
You're not going to get that
exactly.
40 acres."
Oh yeah, we can't do that.
It'll be violently taken away before your face.
Right.
And shall not be restored thee. It was never given. Right?
Right.
The reparations was never given. Thy sheep shall be given unto thy enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. The alpaca,
Yep.
down in South America. Guess what? Esau came through with the Portuguese and the
all.
Spanish, took over all of South America.
Yep.
Took over all of that. All right. The llamas and alpacas. That's the sheep that's in South America. All right. You said verse 32.
Yeah.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand.
This happens with DHS all the time. It happens all the time with baby mama culture that we have today amongst Israel, mainly Israel. All right, that's only an Israel thing. That we love fornication so much, and that's just how blessed we are from the Lord to not be able not to multiply. All right, whether that in righteousness or wickedness. All right, and that's what we do. And it says, "It shall be given unto another people." All right, obviously through slavery, but we're showing the ways that we all still suffer these curses on a daily basis. All right, and if nothing else, do you homeschool your children? If you don't homeschool your children, you literally take them and drop them off to another people on a daily basis. All right. And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. There's no way to get them out of that situation. All right. Because if nothing else, you can't stay home and homeschool them because you got to go slave so you can pay the bills. All right. And you're stuck in this shitty situation. All right.
I want to jump down to verse 41 because it says the same thing as 32, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for
Right.
they shall go into captivity.
Straight up. All right. And that starts from the time they are 5 years old today. That captivity, and it's even going lower. All right. Down to 4 years old and 3 years old in the preschool. All right. Preschool, kindergarten, and then all throughout they have to go to school. All right. To get a quote unquote education. They're really being indoctrinated by their enemies. All right. And whenever they get done with that, they have to go serve and slave to pay bills in captivity just like the adults do.
And yeah, there's also with the deportations, man. They're separating families. They deported a kid with cancer not too long ago.
And that's what they do.
Yeah. That's taking the kids, putting them in captivity. They even talked about that with the first Trump term, about
Right.
putting the kids in cages. And guess what? That didn't start with Trump. That started with Obama, specifically that. But Bush was the first one to crack down on deportation and things like that.
Right. And it's starting to get, release the melting pot a little bit.
Yeah, and even, like, if we even want to go back to, like, when deportation started, that was Eisenhower. So it's been
Right.
going on for a long time.
What's that, after World War II?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, let's start getting them out of here.
Yeah, and it was called Operation Wetback.
Yep, of course.
When
it was.
he started shipping people, or shipping, specifically, I think, Issaquah, Mexicans.
Right, of course, Operation Wetback.
Yeah.
Getting it, whatever Northern Kingdom's left, the fuck on out. You know, when I say that, I say whatever old, Northern Kingdom settlements, towns, whatever the case may be, that Edom hadn't fully got on out of here yet. By the time World War II was over, they said, let's go on ahead and finish our cleansing of this land.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it was the Northern Kingdom who helped Esau win the war.
Exactly.
Especially
and think
over in
about
Japan.
what they was also doing simultaneously, starting in 1948, on the other side of the world,
Right.
in the cleansing, you know,
Oh yeah.
them demons, boy. All right, and let's see, I said
33, 34.
Yeah, I was looking to see fruit of thy land. Like, okay, yeah, basically saying the same thing. You're gonna plant stuff, but you ain't gonna enjoy it. All right, so shut down. You read 34.
So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
Everything that you see in the end of verse 33, it says, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. All right, always, no matter what. The light gets choked out at the end of the tunnel. All right, when we're not living, thus saith the Lord, living by the commandments of God. All right, there is no hope. And at every turn where we think we see a glimmer, it gets crushed.
That's right.
All right, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. And then Ecclesiastes, it says, oppression maketh the wise man mad. Was that chapter 7?
Yeah, 7 and 7.
7 and 7. All right, so if you have any wisdom whatsoever, if you know anything about the Bible, the Lord, the laws, when you see oppression, you're going to get pissed off.
That's right. In Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroy the heart.
Right. Meaning, if you accept gifts from certain people, all right, who you may have to judge or whatever the case may be, that's bribing. All right, that's whatever gift they can offer to get you to change your mind. But excuse me, I got to run some pee real quick.
Man, you can't hold it?
No.
Dang, bro. Come on now. All right. So, oppression make a wise man mad. Now, I do want to get this here in Ephesians 4 and verse 26. So, understand about anger. Yes, you're supposed to control yourself, control your anger, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily a sin to be angry, all right? If you're angry with a cause, then that's a good thing. You're supposed to be angry if you see certain things that are like oppression, for instance, like what we was just reading, all right? In Ephesians 4 and verse 26, it says, be ye angry and sin not, right? So the scripture says it's okay to be angry, just don't sin, right? So a wise man will see oppression and understand and build a strategy, right? Okay, so what can I do about this oppression? Hey, right now in this time, it's going out to teach the people to try to wake them up, right? So, and then with that, once you see the people gathering together, then you can actually implement strategies on how to come out of this oppression and rely upon each other instead of, turning to the enemy for all things, all right? So with that, we can go back to Deuteronomy 28. Be angry and sin not, let not the sun go down upon your wrath.
Right.
So, Deuteronomy 28.
Yeah.
And
35.
And 35. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head.
All right, and that's going into certain gouts and also just the way of living. All right, we're always going to have some kind of botch. All right, starting in our feet to the top of our head, we're always going to have some kind of sore, some kind of something scabbed over. There's always going to be some kind of blemish in the flesh.
Yeah, like arthritis is another thing. Verse 36.
Yep.
The Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
All right, going into today. All right, and being over here shall serve, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. Going into Christianity and the Kaaba stone of Islam and Muslims. All right, a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. There was no America. All right, and And that thou and thy king which thou hast set over thee. All right, and we were commanded it had to be one amongst our brethren. All right, and whatever kingdoms we had established. All right, after Pope Nicholas wrote that papal bull and saying anybody who is not a Christian can be put into slavery and servitude, and then Edom started going everywhere that they could, finding Israel and enslaving us. Either making us bow down and worship them or taking us to be their slaves. All right, they show that they was going around trying to do the ministry of Christianity. That's the lies that we are told today. But it was you worship us or you die. Period. Whether they had a picture of Caesar, a painting of Caesar or not. The true person, all Edomites won't worship, it ain't Caesar, it's themselves. And if they're being honest, they'll admit that. Alright. I've even heard many of them say it. I accept worshipers. Verbatim.
That's crazy.
Right.
That's insane.
Right.
I always
The
point.
narcissism.
I always point to there's a scene in Rick and Morty. There's a clip where Rick, is this old Edomite. He was played by Edomite at least. Justin Roiland was playing him at the time, and he said, "If there's a God, it's fucking me."
Yeah.
Like, that's what
Esau.
he said. Yeah, that's Esau. That
Give it to you,
epitomizes
baby.
Esau. Yeah.
Going all the way back from his birth.
Yeah.
All the way to he didn't kill nothing. He's about to die. Jacob, I don't give a shit about this birthright. Because that's exactly what was in his mind.
Yeah.
If there's a God out here, it's me. Alright, what do I care about being my favorite people? I'm already my favorite people.
Yeah, he was only trying to serve his own self, his own lust.
Right.
Lust of the flesh.
That's it.
Because he wasn't really about to die. He could have waited another 15, 20 minutes.
Of course, bro. That's all about the melodramatization.
Yeah.
of
It's
Edom.
just being dramatic.
Yeah.
Just like when he found out Jacob received a blessing, what did he do? He started crying.
Oh my!
Try to play it
How? Knowing he sold that to him as kids.
Yeah.
Knowing full well this is what you were giving up.
He said, Jacob's been playing to me these 2 times.
Right, twice.
He treated me twice. And they still say in Christianity that Jacob is a trick or a deceiver.
A trickster. Yeah.
When Jacob never wanted any of that except blessings from God.
Right,
That's the only thing he wanted.
But we got to see Christianity, how I explain Mario to Elijah, my son. All right.
Okay, yeah.
It's made by Edom.
Yeah.
Bowser represents Christ.
Okay.
Edom, of course, in their game, which is Christianity, the good guys are bad guys. The bad guys are the good guys in reality. Alright, so of course they're going to try to make Esau as, sympathetic as possible.
Yeah.
And Jacob as a deceiver, a trickster, equate Jacob with the devil.
Yeah. Well, literally, like, the only thing that they can say as far as, like, Jacob being a trickster is they say that, first of all, the situation where he got the blessing from his father Isaac, Rebecca convinced him to do that.
He did not want to do that whatsoever. He
And
knew. He sold me this birthright, this blessing. I don't have to go in there and pretend to be him at all.
And with Laban kept him and tricked him. He tricked Jacob longer. He forced or coerced Jacob into working longer than Jacob had agreed to.
Exactly.
So, like, there's no way that Jacob was a trickster. Yeah.
He did that twice.
He did that to him twice. So, like, Christianity, they just hate the Bible.
Exactly.
They hate the Bible. They don't read it.
Right. They hate the good guys. They make them the bad guys.
Yeah.
They show sympathy for the wicked. Like we just read a while ago in Psalms 11 or Psalms 12 and 8.
Yeah.
All right. The vilest.
Violence to them. Yeah. And Paul just straight up calls Esau a fornicator, a wicked fornicator, a bastard.
That's what he is. That's what he is. All right. He's his true father don't claim him. Makes him a bastard. And also just a pure fornicator. That's all he is.
A fornicator. Profane person.
Yes, very profane. All right. And only cares about the physical.
Only cares about the flesh. Only follows the flesh.
And the lust thereof.
Yep.
And all the villainy. And it says, the liberals shall speak villainy. And that's everything that they love, everything about, like you're saying, profanity, everything about uncleanness. That's their realm. All right, and verse 37.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Right. All right, and astonishment, how in the world this go from the greatest, most favored by God, the most beautiful people to what we have become now. Completely separate, completely just absolutely destroyed, the opposite of that comely plant. We become a degenerate vine.
Yeah.
That's another part of the script say.
The most shameful, the most disgraced, the most disgusting people that's on the planet.
That's what I'm saying. A proverb and a byword. Byword meaning we're never going to be called by our God-given name. All right, it's always going to be some kind of derogatory, usually, nickname. And a proverb goes back to this whole chapter. All right, and goes back to Jude 5. All right, when we keep the laws, the Lord is with us. We can only prosper and be overtaken by blessings. But when we break them, we can only be overtaken by curses and death consume us. All right, that is the proverb.
Yeah, so proverb just means wise saying.
Right.
And like the stereotypes that they have about us, all the proverbs that they make up concerning us. If you want to hide something from a black person, what do you do?
Put it in a book.
Put it in a book, right?
Like I say, stupid shit.
Yeah, exactly. And say Puerto Ricans carry knives, or like Indians are drunks and run casinos, like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, like real Jews just want to rape white women all the time.
Yeah.
Especially if they smoke weed.
Yeah, and the new proverb out here is like all Latinos are criminals, all Mexicans are illegals.
Yeah.
And they got to be deported.
Exactly.
They're all gang members.
Yeah, that's a new one they're trying to put.
That's a new one. Yeah.
Since they already got it all the world convinced that every Jew is a gang banging rapist criminal.
Yeah.
Now we're going to the Northern Kingdom.
Absolutely.
All right, and let's see.
And byword, all the racial slurs that they have for us, and even like what you were talking about, the names that they call us, as far as like the races that they call us, aren't our God-given names
At all.
They don't call us Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Manasseh, Simeon, so on and so forth.
Right.
They don't call us the Israelites.
Never.
They'll call us blacks or Latinos or
Native
Indians,
Americans.
Native Americans.
Right. They was here when we got here. Type thing.
Oh man, all the different names they have for us are not the biblical names.
Not at all. All right, and jump down to 41.
Verse 41, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
And let's see, all the trees, the fruit on the locusts. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. All right, that's exactly what has happened. There's always been strangers or people from other nations come to live around and amongst us. All right, and the Lord's saying right here, from the time when we come out of Egypt, when He's first given this to us, all right, the other nations did come and live around us and amongst us as time went on. And He's saying right here, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high. He's going to end up ruling. He's not just going to live under you and be a part of your, as you'd say, household, I guess you'd say, or, one of your neighbors.
Yeah, not just your city.
Right. And get very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Right, even in your own city. Even though the Lord said, y'all are all getting thrown off my land. All right, but even in your own city. Like a lot of the so-called Native Americans that were here and roamed this land, lived off this land a long time before anybody else came. But guess what? Got pushed into reservations or got adopted out. Don't even know that they're quote-unquote Native Americans. They was raised to be Edomites or whatever nation adopted them. That's the case for a lot of us.
They killed an Indian, saved a man.
Exactly. Which was a whole agenda and initiative.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And verse 44.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
45.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. Because thou hearken not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
Right. That's why we're in the position we're in today. All right. What did it say? Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee. They started to happen. Shall pursue thee. They kept happening no matter where we went. To where there's no more running from it. It's consumed us all. Overtake thee till thou be destroyed. All right. Why? Because we wouldn't do what the Lord said. And read on. This is some of the most important verses of this whole super important chapter.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Why? Because we just read in 37, we're going to lose our name. Part of the curse is to lose your identity. All right? To not be able to figure out who you are, where you come from, who you belong to, what land is truly your home, who really owns you, back to Isaiah 1 and 3. All right? So the Lord said, another reason I'm putting this in place, I'm establishing these laws of nature, which is what they are. They are systems put in place, not physical. All right, spiritual systems put in place to where no matter if you don't choose to be an Israelite, you're born. All right, and you live a certain way, you're cursed. You live another way, you're blessed. But it's mainly to curse you for not living godly until you look for God and find Him. Find the blessings. Find the better parts about this life. Alright? But He kept that in place for no matter how much time passes, no matter how many different names you're called by, no matter what land you may be in. Alright? This is established spiritually, and there's no way of escaping it, so that you will know. Those of you who care to know will be able to look, see, and find one day. Which is exactly what has happened, all praise to the Most High, in the last 50 to 70 years. All praise to the Most High. That we are in the position we're in today, to where some of us have actually awakened to righteousness. Alright, we figured out what is righteousness. Back to Deuteronomy 6 and 25. To tie it together here.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 25. And it shall be our righteousness, if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as He hath commanded us.
Right. That's how you awake to righteousness. Alright, you realize, for one, I've been living wrong. And two, figuring out what righteousness is and begin to live it. Okay? Alright, and verse 47.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 47. Because thou serve not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things.
Alright, whenever we was ruling the earth, alright, and the only thing we had to do was continue to do what the Lord said, alright. Through David and Solomon, Israel was the beauty of the world, alright, the apple of the Lord's eye clearly on this planet, alright. But since then, and since that time, even under Solomon, Solomon did not serve the Lord with joyfulness and gladness of heart. Alright, to the point where he stopped serving the Lord. Alright, but the Lord said, because even if you did serve me, but you hated it the whole time, you hated the process, you hated the fact that you couldn't go and live, quote unquote, freely unto death like all other nations, all other peoples. Alright? Who, quote unquote, didn't have to live a certain way by a certain code, observe certain things each and every day, but they also live unto death. Alright, there is no life in them. Alright, the only life comes from keep my commandments and live. Alright, Proverbs 7 and 2. Alright, but we didn't like that, and that's why the love of God is explained how it is in 1 John 5 and 3. Alright, this is the love of God.
The book of 1 John, chapter 5 and verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
Right, are not grievous in any way. In Jeremiah 23. To never see them as we began to see them, that it speaks on in Jeremiah the 23rd chapter.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 23, and what verse?
You can start with 33.
Jeremiah 23 and 33. And when this people, or the prophet or a priest, shall ask thee, saying, what is the burden of the Lord? Thou shalt then say unto them, what burden? I will even forsake you, saith the Lord.
What burden? There is no burden. Read 36.
Verse 36. And the burden of the Lord shall ye mention no more, for every man's word shall be his burden. For ye have perverted the words of the living God, of the Lord of hosts, of our God.
Right.
Of the Lord of hosts, our God.
Alright. And then in verse 39 it says, even I will utterly forget you, and I will forsake you in the city that I gave you and your fathers, and cast you out of my presence. I will bring an everlasting reproach. Alright, for those of us who seen it that way, upon you, and a perpetual shame which shall not be forgotten. Goes back to what we read in 37, a proverb and a byword, and a reproach, word for word. Alright. An astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. So it didn't say reproach, it said that on up in the chapter. But yeah, for an example of what not to be like, that's a reproach. Okay? Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Alright, for every bit of everything. Alright, and how he made everything for only our sakes. But we began to see him having us to keep his charge on the planet as the burden of the Lord. Alright, so the Lord said, bet that. Y'all ain't going to remember to say the burden of the Lord any longer. Alright, y'all ain't even going to remember anything about the Lord or the Lord himself. Much less that his ways to you were burdensome and grievous. That is the epitome of grief. Alright, to call something a burden. It's something that has to be dealt with, that if you had your way, you would not deal with it. Alright, and 28:48.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things.
Right.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Right, meaning you will literally be in chains and in slavery until he doesn't have to worry about you running away or teaming up to come kill him anymore. Till you've been destroyed mentally. You have no idea who you are or what your situation is, much less who you are and how to get out of your situation. Alright, you'll be happy in captivity. You'll be a good slave, basically. Alright, that's when we would be able to take the chains off, the yoke of iron from upon our neck. Alright, and it says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, not thy friends, not thy neighbors. Alright, thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. Alright, in hunger for any type of food, or if you're hungry for anything, knowledge, whatever the case may be. Same with a thirst, or like it talks about in Isaiah chapter 55 and 1. And 58 and 1 cry aloud, but 55 and 1 is talking about the waters he's given to the thirsty. Alright. And in nakedness, for any clothing whatsoever, and part of the commandments of the Lord is a dress code. Okay? These are all things that the Lord provided, and he also provided instructions on how to use said things that we hated. That's why he said you're going to serve your enemy for all those things. And not only are they not going to tell you the good so that you can be healthy like he did, but they're going to serve you defiled things and all sorts of things to harm you, because that's your enemy. It's another thing we don't consider a lot. All right, the Lord provided all these things and how to proceed with said things naturally if we hearken unto Him. But since we didn't, and those who did hearken hated every second of it, He said, bet that. I'm going to send your enemy against you. And now, all those things that I provided naturally for your benefit and instructions on how to use, He is going to give you to destroy you in every way. The things you eat, what you thirst for, the clothes you wear. Alright, and they've taken that, and it's necessities for life. But they've taken and using them for instruments of war. Each and every one of them. Alright? And in want of all things, anything that you want, you're not going to be able to self-sufficiently create. Especially while we're in sin. Alright, verse 49.
Before we go to verse 49, I just want to get this in Baruch 3 and 8. Because we look at this verse in 48, and we think that it may just be talked about like, oh, back then or whatever.
No, sir.
But in Baruch 3 and 8, it tells you straight up. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity.
Right, straight up.
Yet this day, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach, there's that word again,
Yep.
and a curse,
Man, there's that word again.
and to be subject to payments.
Right.
Right, so if you got to pay for your food, you got to pay for your water, you got to pay for your clothes, you got to pay for anything, as I said, in one of all things.
Yep.
According to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God. You see that right there? So if you're subject to payments, you're still in captivity.
All right, and like we read in Jeremiah 23, it said, according to all the iniquities of your fathers, what did the Lord say? I'm going to forget your children.
That's right.
All right, so that's us today dealing with the repercussions, but the deeper you dig, excuse me, you'll see that we were our fathers. All right, and like I said, I didn't make a covenant with your fathers, I made it with you.
And we're still in the same sense.
Exactly.
Still in the same sense. But Deuteronomy 28:49.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
Right, and that is a huge hint also.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Right, speaking another language. All right. And as swift as the eagle flieth. All right, which is super duper important. All right, it goes into Edom being that eagle, especially for this last day. But also just throughout all the times we went into captivity. They come upon us without us being able to, prepare in any way. Mm-hmm. As swift as an eagle every time. Flew right down and like it does. Fast as any other bird. Boom! Grabs its prey and it's gone.
And it's gone.
Same. With us going into each captivity. Alright, but it's a key for those who are considering in the last days. Alright.
Verse 50.
Yep.
A nation of fierce countenance.
A fierce, strong of face. Alright, that's what mine says out to the side. Or their facial expression will not change. It is hate, it is evil, and stuck like that.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
Right. They will kill a grandma and grandpa in front of the grandkids and kill the grandkids' kids. Just like that. At the same time. All while having the look on their face of hate and evil.
Yeah. Yeah, if you just look into, there's a book I reference a lot whenever I go into the history of different countries in my Sabbath lessons. A book called A Brief Account of the Destruction of the Indies by Bartolomé de las Casas. And he talks about how the Spaniards, how they were when they came over here, the conquistadors. But he also, whenever I was going into the history of Venezuela, he talked about when the Germans came over here, because the Spanish kind of made a deal with the Germans because, all them European kings, especially at that time, were all related.
Right, and dealing with each other.
Yeah,
directly.
so they made a deal with the Germans. The Germans come over here to Venezuela, and just kind of do what they want to.
Right.
And
Here's a chunk of land, y'all can come down here.
yeah,
and fuck all
exactly.
with.
From what Bartolome de las Casas said, he said the Germans was worse than Spaniards.
Right.
So
just think of everything that they broadcastedly cooked up under Hitler and stuff, doing to the Amalekites.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they were ripping up, like, if they found a pregnant woman, they would rip the baby out the womb, cut open the stomach. Like what you said, old people, if they were moving too slow as far as gathering gold or resources or whatever, cut their hands off, cut their nose off.
Yep.
Like, they just didn't care.
Cut a foot off.
Yeah, if children were moving too slow, hey, hang them, burn them. Like, they was doing all sorts of evil.
Right.
All sorts of wickedness.
And they did not care to whom they did it.
No, they didn't. Certainly did it.
All right, as long as they were Israel. Because they knew, the Lord had lifted his guard from us. Mm-hmm. So as long as they were operating with Israel, they were safe.
Mm-hmm. He said, let us consider this shall be their ruin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. And it says, and he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, in all the different ways. Let's see.
Yeah, 52 through 58 is going into the siege of cities.
Right. And then 58. Read 58.
If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God.
Right.
Right. So that's how you fear the name of the Lord, by the way. All these people talking about the name.
The name, there it is.
Yeah, so here's how you do it. You keep the words that's in the law. That's how you make reverence to his name.
Exactly. That's how it said all these who have, what did we read in Revelation? Who have, what did it say? On his name.
Oh, his name in the foreheads?
Yeah.
The 144,000?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. Alright. Yeah. It was, what was that? 22?
Now, that was 14.
19? 14.
Yeah. I mean, that was before we started the lesson.
Yeah. I'll just make sure. Alright. Yep. That thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. Alright? And like it says, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, alright, then, verse 59.
Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sicknesses, and of long continuance.
Right, not being able to get rid of certain things. Alright, something just nagging, you almost get it healed, and then it gets worse. And every time, it just won't go away.
You know what I'm thinking of when it says the plagues of thy seed and of long continuance is like certain genetic disorders and palsies and things like that. Same things that we read about that were in the Bible that Christ healed, so that there is able to be healed from them. These days, he don't know what to do.
Exactly.
He said, like, look, this is incurable.
Right, it's incurable. There's no cure, and like literally that's what they say. Even though there's cures that they have that you have to buy. And those are just deceptive incurables, all right? But there's plenty out there who they could not tell you the first thing about having, healing it.
Yeah.
All right? It's the reason they call it the health care system and not a healthy system. All right? Because they definitely have a care about it, but they do not want to heal. All right, that's not why they was established. Especially if you look into the late 1800s, early 1900s, going from the holistic medicines to under John Rockefeller and another one of them, Maine Edomite families who had all the money. Yeah, I think it was Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie, and John Rockefeller. They put all this money into starting what we know today as the pharmaceutical or the pharma system. All right, to where you have companies that cook up pills and potions that is pushed by a health care system. All right, that was all established by Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller and the counselors that they had around them at the time. All right, and they went out condemning all things holistic. All right, and writing all types of lying slanders about the doctors of the time, especially the more successful ones with the holistic ways, and just a pure evil campaign to set up this healthcare system of today. And I advise anybody to look into that true history, and just look up the word pharmakia in Greek. that should give anybody pause to be so lenient on, big pharma.
I mean, just look at what they've done over the past 5, 10 years, 15 years, and this what they call the opioid epidemic.
Exactly.
How they've just, destroyed lives just for profit.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they're the ones who came in and started writing all the people all these opiates and claimed it to be a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Verse 60.
Yeah.
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Verse 61.
Yeah.
Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, then will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
Right. Every sickness, every plague which is not written, all the ones up to date that they are continuously discovering and naming, still to this day. Or, AKA, like they did with COVID-19, China, Wuhan, whatever they are trying to create. Alright, and you shall be, alright, verse 62.
Well, like AIDS isn't in the Bible, cancer is not in the Bible, flu, smallpox, typhus, all those.
Pretty much all the ones we can name today.
Yeah.
The Lord didn't have to.
A lot of them ain't in the Bible.
Right.
Verse 62. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou would not obey the voice of the Lord thy God.
Right. Alright, now to where like today, if nothing else in ways of getting relabeled, having other, getting given to different peoples, alright, suffering under the other curses that's led up to this point. It's how we became what they call the minority.
Yeah, like what you said, the minority. And 62 and 63 specifically is like straight up and down talking about Gad and Reuben. Whereas the people did fill this whole country with hundreds of nations.
Yep.
Right?
Different nations.
Yeah. Millions of people.
Yep.
Right? Now it's not even like a million, if that, around the country.
I think they have it less than 500,000 left on the reservations.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
It said you were the stars of heaven for multitude.
Right.
Now it brought down to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because we wouldn't obey our God.
Right, straight up.
And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you, to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it.
Right. Anywhere you go to live,
the
Lord will end up plucking you off of if you don't hearken unto His commandment.
And specifically, again, the Gadites.
Yeah.
Because God was so harsh with the Gadites over here because the Gadites were supposed to be the priests over here.
Exactly.
And the Gadites did end up, lasting longer than some of the rest of the tribes as far as like fighting against Esau.
Right.
But
holding out against.
Yeah, holding out against Esau. But like, hey, we were supposed to keep everybody in check over here, and we didn't.
Right.
We failed that.
We wouldn't even keep ourselves in check until we seen the troop coming, the prophecy being fulfilled.
Yeah.
That's when we wanted to get on our prophet shit. Please excuse my language.
That's the first time you said that, even though you've been saying stuff all day.
Right.
Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Right. All right, and constantly referring back to that because that's the main two. All right, that's the main two that's got our people destroyed and entrapped today.
Mm-hmm.
All right, either Muslim or Christian. And they're constantly arguing with one another, not knowing they're both evil. Not knowing, no matter which one you choose, you're choosing a curse and death. All right, that's why Esau pumps that big battle everywhere to the point where even Albert Pike wrote it in one of his, manifestos. Not manifestos, but a book that he wrote. All right, that laid out exactly how, for one, the Civil War, and then World War I, World War II, and up to World War III. And so far, he's been exactly how he said it would happen. It's exactly how it happened. In World War III, he said it will be fought as a holy war between Muslims and Christians. All right. And I'm guessing that's what leads up to World War III, and then here comes crisis. So, nope. All that's wrong. Everybody's wrong. I'm fighting over my people's stuff. All right, verse 65.
And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
Right, which is exactly what we just read in Baruch 3 and 8. All right, you shall find no ease. It's never easy. It never gets any easier here in this land, living around these other nations that have been confederate and conspiring against us. All right. Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. Why? Because not only are we living out what had to happen after Adam and Eve, but now we're having to live out a punishment on top of that, at the sweat of our brow. All right, so now we can never get no ease. And the Lord said, all the work that you do, you're not going to enjoy the fruit of your labor when you don't listen to me. So not only do we have to do the labor, when we're living a curse, we don't even get to enjoy the fruit of our labor. All right, we find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart. Why? Because there's nothing that you can have safety and security in that would make you not fear what is happening on a daily basis. The only thing that provides that is the Lord, is the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. Alright? And also, like it said in this other verse we just read, he shall appoint terror over us. What was that at when we read
21, 22?
Yeah, I think so.
No, maybe 20. Appoint terror over you is Leviticus 26.
26, right, that's what I was about to say. Must have been on Leviticus 26.
Yeah, 26 and 16.
16, yep.
Yeah.
Alright, so he'll appoint terror over us, and that goes into this nation as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation of fierce countenance. Alright, that goes into them as well. Alright, where was I at? Oh yeah, 65.
Mm-hmm.
And failing of eyes. Why? Because everything you see should give you no hope. Nothing we see gives us hope whatsoever. And sorrow of mind. Why? Because this is a sorrowful land of hell that we live in, ruled over by our enemies, born servants that have somehow wandered their way to the top of the room, that are a fierce countenance, which regard not the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. They hate every one of us just the same, with a perpetual hatred.
Yeah, and you said failing of eyes, as in like everything that we see, we'd have no hope, right? And that's where faith comes in.
Right.
That's where the only hope that we should have is in our faith.
Exactly.
Is in our faith in God, because faith is the evidence of things not seen.
Right. Exactly.
Right. The substance of things hoped for. Right.
Right.
So that's the only reason why we're optimistic. And we're not optimistic about America. We're optimistic about what's coming after America.
Right.
That we're optimistic about the destruction of America.
Right. And the salvation of Israel.
That there will be salvation to God's people.
Right.
That's what we have faith in. That's why. That's the only reason why we don't have failing of eyes.
Exactly.
We just point out, hey, this is what's going on. Right. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, but it will get better eventually.
Yeah, Lord's will. And this is since you're going into the hope that we have. Mm-hmm. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 4. You could really start with 1 and read on down, but the point is in 4.
So what you want?
Just to read 4.
Okay. Wisdom of Solomon 3 and verse 4. For though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality.
Right. The hope is full of immortality. All right, because like it says in Sirach 19:19, all right, to eat of the tree.
All right, the book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 19 and verse 19. The knowledge of the commandments of the Lord is the doctrine of life.
Right.
And they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality.
Right. All right, so they that do things that please him, all right, that's why we have any immortality in our hopes. All right, because we're trying to do things now to please him before he gets here, to either reward you or punish you for how much you pleased him before he got here. All right, and we did a terrible job at pleasing him up until this point. That's why we're going over Deuteronomy 28. That shows you in how many different ways and how many different instances and cases throughout history we've had to live out these curses for not doing what he said and doing the things that please him. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready for something different. All right, this cycle of hell is old to me. And yeah, only ones who can fix our situation is ourselves. All right, verse 66.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
Right, exactly as it is now. We get us or our kids, our grandparents, or parents could get killed, going to work every morning, going to school every morning, coming home from the same. It doesn't matter. Anytime we step out of our house, any of us could be killed for any little thing. All right.
And notice they use the word hang
Right.
there.
So
Hangings.
hanging it out.
Hangings, as I mentioned earlier with the Northern Kingdom, that's what the Spaniards did. But later, that's what, obviously, it's what the American Edomites did with the Southern Kingdom. That's what a lot of people realize. A lot of people don't realize, though, out in the West, they did that with the Mexicans throughout the 1800s and 1900s as well. But verse 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at evening thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thy heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see.
Right. All right, so whether it's the morning, you're wishing it was the nighttime, and at night, you're wishing it was the morning again. All right, no matter what. And part of that is in the morning when you get up, gosh, I wish it was this evening so I'd be off work.
There you go.
Or when you get off in the evening, whatever the case may be, your home life sucks. All right. Or you got to deal with some drama, whatever the case may be, all right? You're wishing that it was morning again, and the cycle repeats the next day.
Yeah, and as far as like, at evening thou shalt say, what God it were morning, you're just trying to make it through the night.
Right.
Because of whatever, like what we just talked about
Evil's
with the hangings
lurking.
and things like that. Evil lurking, yeah. KKK and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
All right. Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Right. No man's going to buy you out of that situation. All right. And they even still teach a piece of this verse in history class today. Probably not for very much longer. But as far as I know, still up until this very moment, they're still teaching the slavery of America. All right? And how that started, how that happened, they don't tell you a lot of that. But Egypt, let's see, what's the verse in Deuteronomy?
I like Deuteronomy 6 and 12.
6 and 12, yeah. Let's read that.
Deuteronomy 6 and verse 12. Then beware, lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage.
All right, so that's what the land of Egypt can mean, represent, and stand for. And it does here in Deuteronomy 28. I shall bring thee into Egypt, meaning slavery, captivity, the house of bondage, the land where you are slaved. Alright? Again, with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. Talking about our homeland that he gave us to live on and to rule from. He said, you ain't gonna see this land no more. You're going on the other side of the earth from it. Henceforth, while part of every nation, or part of every tribe of Israel is here in this nation in captivity. Alright? In the west, on the other side of the planet, from the one we're actually supposed to be on. And there you shall be sold unto your friends, neighbors, and housemates. Or the same thing is said in verse 48. So serve that. Enemies.
There you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. And
no man shall buy you. If the Lord didn't mean your enemies, he would have said to the nations, like he has throughout other parts of this very chapter. But he very much means your enemies. In particular, those of those other nations that hate you perpetually. And that only have malice and forethought towards you. Malice and aforethought. Meaning evil, harmful intent. All before ever meeting you. Just your existence. Alright? That's the ones who bought us. and who became our owners to this day. All right, because what is America ruled by? Oligarchical families who control the wealth that they've printed. You don't think those same oligarchical families are the ones that bought us? If you don't, then you're crazy. That's how they're able to have generational wealth. Alright, money going back generations, starting from the, the free wealth they made off our backs. Or just the spoils that they stole when they came over here and killed us. All of that's one and the same. Either way, it was ill-gotten gains that shall come to naught. All right, but yeah.
I just want to point out when it says that no man shall buy you. In Leviticus 25 and verse 47, because this verse says no man shall buy you, and it literally says, not a couple lines earlier, it says you shall be sold unto your enemies, right? Yeah. So what is no man shall buy you? In Leviticus 25 and verse 47, it says, and if a sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwell by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is nigh of kin unto him of his family may redeem him. Or if he is able, he may redeem himself. You see that right there? So we had a custom in ancient Israel where if a family member of ours got sold into slavery or sold himself into slavery, we would buy them out of it.
Get them out of the situation.
Yet here in Deuteronomy 28:68, Moses said, guess what? Nobody's going to buy you out of that slavery because all of you are going into slavery.
Right.
All of you are going to be subject to bondage to your enemies.
To payments.
Right. And if I've seen brothers break it down as like, oh, buy means redeem here. And yeah, if you want to go with that breakdown, jump up to verse 29. At the end of it, it says that no man shall save you. So, it's the same thing. No man's going to save you. Nobody's going to redeem you. Nobody's going to buy you out of that slavery.
Right. You're going to have to live it out.
Yeah.
Point blank, period. And guess what? We've lived that out and are still living it out. All right, like we read in Baruch chapter 3.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
And we'll continue to until we hearken unto the Lord. Gather together. Let's read that. And then we can close it out.
I would like to read Deuteronomy 30.
Yeah,
because that talks about the same thing. Right. And but then we can close out Zephaniah 2. And Deuteronomy 30 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, as we've read about today, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee. We're fulfilling this prophecy right now.
Right now.
Bringing it to mind.
Live and in color.
That's right. And thou shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee.
Right. And he will gather thee. And that's what we're about to, like I said, close out Zephaniah 2 and 1. Let's make it as easy on the Lord as possible. All right. Like it says right here. And will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. But what does he command us to do before he comes to get us? So that we're all in one spot, baby.
Yeah, that's preparing for his arrival.
Exactly.
In Zephaniah 2 and verse 1, gather yourselves together.
Right.
Yea, gather together. O nation not desired.
Right. He said, nobody else wants y'all. They don't want y'all around. Especially when y'all are keeping the commandments. Why? Because y'all are beginning to prosper while they are beginning to suffer the curses. So, of course, they don't want you around.
Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you. Before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you.
Yeah.
Seek ye the Lord, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger.
Straight up. Seek meekness, which is to be obedient unto the higher powers. mainly being him. I think Zechariah's after Nahum. Yeah.
Yeah, Zeph is before Habakkuk. No, it's before Haggai, right after
Right,
Habakkuk.
Habakkuk,
Because it
gotcha.
goes Hab, Zeph, Hag, Zech.
Zach.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that helped me remember that. I was thinking Haggai and Habakkuk were back to back.
No, Zeph's right in between them.
Right, shoved in between them, and
Yeah.
Zechariah right behind him.
That's right.
Yep.
So yeah, the Lord is telling us to gather together before He can gather us together.
Exactly. Like I'm saying, one big carpool,
Yeah.
kind of, sort of. Make it as easy as possible on the Lord.
That's right.
Since we made it so hard on Him and us all these years, let's try to, reverse that a little bit.
That's right.
All right, Matthew 26.
All right. Matthew 26, starting with verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble you the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For you have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman have done be told for a memorial of her.
Hey, all praises. Lord's will. Each of us got something good out of this lesson today. All we can say is stay encouraged and stay in the spirit. Constantly endure. Always feel free to reach out. Happy Sabbath, Israel. And shalom. Let God be magnified.
Shalom, and let God be magnified. Let me see any more comments. Yeah, Mac. He said, to buy, you mean not redeem, save, or free us from these curses or punishment. Yeah, so shalom, happy Sabbath.
Right.
All right. So yeah, shalom. Let God be magnified.
Let God be magnified.